Welcome to part 2 of our HTTP monitor project. I think last time we stopped when we had this structure that we are seeing right here. We have decided to split some parts of the monitor into an executor. And this executor is, well, no surprise, doing the whole execution, so it makes everything run async or concurrent at the same time, and it does the requests and kind of gets back at us with the results. Whereas if we look at our monitorable, which is right here, this is the thing being monitored. So we had a common trait, the monitorable trait, which knows what URL to query or to request, and we have a validate function which returns a success boolean, so whether the monitoring succeeded or not. And we have two instantiations that, or two structs that implement this monitorable trait, which is the status monitorable, and we have the duration monitorable that not only, that doesn't check the status at all, the return status, but it instead checks the duration it took, how long the request how long the request was running until it came back to us. Well, this is something I took a bit of time to think of, and I think I want to change that. Not because it was a bad design decision or anything, but because what I want in the end is I want some config file, like let's say a JSON file, probably the easiest way to do it, in which we have all our request URLs and expected statuses and timings and stuff and whatnot inside. However, I'd like to do this with serde, so at least the deserialization, so when we read this stuff. And we can't read into trait objects. So we can't read into DIN monitorables, which is exactly what we are using here though. So the monitorables themselves are a vector of args, and inside the args there is a DIN monitorable. And I think this is going to be a real problem, because reading, or let's say if you want to have it like this, we want to have one file which should, as I said, contain all the monitorables, but they should be should be able to put different types of monitorables in there, like status monitorables and duration monitorables, so that you only have one config file for your whole monitoring procedure. And having that will be kind of a pain to read when we boot up. So I think what's going to be today's job is get rid of the monitorable trait and instead refactor that to be, like, I guess an enum. It's probably the correct choice here, with individual variants like the status monitorable or the duration monitorable. And then we can actually use serde to read a vector of monitorables, which is then going to be an enum, from the same file, because serde has this feature where when it serializes and deserializes any enum variants, it will, or when it serializes, it will encode the type in each variant, and when it deserializes, it will read that type and will then know what variant to deserialize. And this will probably make our configuration be way smoother, I guess. So that's number one, refactor the monitorable into an enum. And number two will then be try to read it from a file. And eventually I want to have some configurability with clap, but I don't know whether this will be part of this video. Well, I guess we'll just see. So first things first, I think I want the enum monitorable here. Or let's do one quick thing. Let's just rename this so we're not getting in the way of ourselves, and have our new monitorable here. The monitorable will have two variants, which is status monitorable. Or can we, I think we shouldn't call it the exact same as the structs, because we're gonna still use those structs. So let's just say this is a status, and it contains a status monitorable inside. And then what was the other thing? I think it was the duration, right? Yeah, it was duration. So we have duration here with a duration monitorable. And this is gonna be our new go-to, and it's gonna be replacing the monitorable trait. Well, of course, now we're gonna do some matching instead of dynamic dispatch here, or instead of polymorphism. So we'll have impl monitorable. What we'll need is, I mean, it could theoretically implement the monitorable trait for monitorable. But I don't know, I think that's just a bit overkill. It's like double indirection. So we'll do it right away on this here, and we'll get rid of the trait later on. So we need to implement this one. And we need the validate trait. Yeah, let's just copy that one. This is what we have to do. And of course, we'll have to match inside here. So we'll match self. And the match arms, right? We'll just do status monitorable dot the URL, right? Yeah. Need to reference here, and probably same thing here. Duration monitorable dot URL. It has the same field. So this one is the same implementation for both things. However, here we'll have to do something different. We match on self again, fill the match arms because we're lazy. And now we'll have to probably snag this implementation from down here. Validate, yeah, exactly. This is the status monitorable. So we'll just return expected fat error. Oh yeah, okay. And we need the comma here. And for the duration monitorable, where do we have the implementation of validate? Yeah, probably not even worth copying that over, but okay. Okay, so we're good here. That means we can delete the implementations. Oh, sorry, we shouldn't delete the new implementation probably, but we can implement the monitorable trait implementations. And that should be fine now. So we can create status monitorables now. We can still create duration monitorables, but they are gonna be used as a variant or behind the variants of this monitorable enum that we now have. So where do we still have problems? I guess everything is fine in here. Let's go to main. This is where we get problems now, of course. So before we start reading things from file, let's just check whether we can create them in memory. And once that works, we're probably good. So the monitorables should be, I mean, we could do that right here. I don't think that's of any value. That monitorables is equal to a, vec. And in here we need monitorable. What's What's going on? Oh, monitorable. That's an enum. Yeah, monitorable. We could. Okay, now I get the autocomplete. Great. We'll do status monit. We'll snack that from here. And that should be all right. Okay. It's getting a little bit confused here because I didn't have the autocomplete going for me. And we'll create another status, which is gonna be this one. Okay, and the nice thing is that we can directly create a duration monitorable here. And we'll take this one from here. And we should be good. So those are our new monitorables right now. The rest can absolutely go. I should be able to go. Cycle time. Then we have the executor, and the executor will get our monitorables. However, it's probably not prepared to take a vector of monitorables right now, but instead it probably wants to have some trait object still, right? Let's see. Yes. So our monitorables in here now need to be of monitorable. So that's good. This should also be like this. Question is now whether we want to create or wrap the monitorables in individual arcs in this new function, or whether we want to do it outside. I think this is an implementation detail of the executor that it requires them to be behind an arc. So I would prefer to do that in here in order to not have kind of a leaky, or not leak the internal details of the executor through its constructor to the outside world. So we'll take the monitorables, so use shadowing here, into iter, then we'll map each monitorable to an arc new of the monitorable, and we collect into... Does it know how to do that? Because this is... Yeah, he knows that he needs a vector right now of monitorables right here, and therefore we don't need type annotations here. Perfect. That just seems so much cleaner than it was before. So for monitoring then, we'll also take an arc of a monitorable. Monitorable.url. Oh, it's private still. Yes, that's still private. Make it public. Do the same thing here. Why does it still say it's private? It's not private anymore. It's public now. By the way, let's get rid of the monitorable trait. So cleaned up here. Main file is also cleaned up. Still, like, why is that? Let's just run it once. Somehow my rest analyzer, I guess, is behind, because this function should not be private anymore. It says public. Yeah. Okay, so let's just disregard this message here. Same here. You know what? Let's just check whether I can get rid of this message by doing this. Yes. This one doesn't exist anymore. We just need the monitorable. And is that already it? No, can't be. Let's see. In monitoring result, we still have a problem. Yeah. Of course, the monitorable just needs to be a arc of a monitorable right now. And we need to doesn't implement debug. Well, it should. It definitely should. So what do we derive here? I think debug is good. I think clone should also be derived here. And therefore they'll have... oh, that's the whole clone thing again. Yeah. But now it's an enum. Okay. I think that was a problem we had last time, where we couldn't derive clone because it's not DIN compatible. But this time we can do it because we don't need trait objects at all. So what's going on here? Status monitor. Oh, this shouldn't be self. Yeah. Now this is fine. Anything else in here? No. Let's see where main is going. We have an unused import. Okay. Not a big deal. What about the executor? Redundant closure. Oh, well, okay. No, that's not what I wanted. So we should do it like this. It's probably what Clippy likes. Okay. What else is going on? Ooh, we're back up and running already. That was quick, kind of. So let's see. Okay, this is a monitoring result of a status monitorable. Duration. Status was exactly what we expected. So this is true. This is a duration monitorable where we have a max duration of 100 milliseconds. We had 208, so definitely success is false. Yeah. Everything seems to be back up and running. So let's just make a quick commit. What is the file to? To include in what will be... what is to here? Where does this come from? Okay. Let's see, it's still there. Okay. Whatever that was. We'll add everything, git commit. And we now have refactor monitorable from trait to enum. I don't know whether that's the best we could have done for this commit message, but anyways. Good. Step number 1 already completed. We can right away see that things have gotten a lot cleaner in my opinion. So setting up the monitorables now doesn't need any like kind of post-processing, which would be like creating the traits, the structs first and then packing them into some traits and whatnot. So that's become cleaner, I guess. Also, creating the arc inside the executor constructor is something that I definitely prefer over having that leak out into the main function. And the monitorable itself got it way cleaner as well. That's something I kind of have to push myself to do more, because in my day job I use C# most of the time, and in C# everything's like, yeah, do interfaces, and have trait objects, so to say, or polymorphism behind interfaces, and dependency injection and stuff. Whereas in Rust, oftentimes I guess you prefer an enum, because enums are just so goddamn powerful in Rust. And you can see that here. I mean, like, that's literally, I mean, you might even prefer to have all the validate code in one function and see that, okay, this is how all the different variants are validated, rather than where it was split up before into the individual impl blocks of the structs. I think that's very much personal preference, but the code is so much less, so much quicker, so much shorter. That's nice. So this is definitely what I wanted to do. So clean up the initialization here. Then step number 2. I don't know whether that was actually step number 2. I lined out 3 steps in the beginning of the video. I totally forgot what step number 2 was. Step number 1 was definitely the refactoring. What I would like here, instead of handing the monitorables as kind of like a blank data to the executor, I'd like to create a config struct, because we might and probably will have more config than the monitorables themselves. So let's just add a file here, config.rs, and declare the module. And our config is gonna be just a struct with the monitorables inside it. Yeah. Now that I think of it, I just said that I like this very much to have this abstraction, or this abstraction, or the implementation detail of requiring arcs not to bleed outside of this constructor. And now, of course, is the question, do we create the arced vec of the monitorables inside the config? So will the config provide this to the executor? I guess no, it shouldn't. It's an implementation detail of the executor. So what this one should be having is a vec of monitorables, and nothing else, I guess. And it would probably be a good idea to make that public, because who are we fooling? Why should we have any methods to access this state? It's just going to be an access itself. And therefore, we can now do the following thing. We take a config. We can probably move that inside here. Yeah. Because like we're gonna only use it once, so move it inside. And monitorables are gonna be config.monitorables. Great. And that's already it for here. And then we create config is equal to config and monitorables. Do we need to? We need to import first. Missing structure fields. Yeah, fill the arms. Come on. Yeah, we're good already. And we provide, of course, the config here. Will this one run? It will. Nice. time to make a commit. Like, over the time, I've come to really value smaller commits. Like, totally a sidetrack here, but I've come to like smaller commits a lot more. Like, the more I work on larger projects with a lot of people at work, I find it way easier to have really small commits that are focused on what you're doing rather than having extremely large commits that kind of restore the whole functionality again, or refactor a whole functionality. I should probably say that. The only drawback you get, or the main drawback you get for when making smaller commits, is, let's say you have a large feature that you want to create, and it probably requires like a few hundred lines of code. But of course, you can split that up into creating class number A and struct number B that you need, and then you create small little functionality. Like, this whole thing that you're building up doesn't add functionality, and still you make individual commits out of it. And then in the end, your final commit is like, okay, I'm now stitching it all together and creating this functionality. I still like that though, because when you get into the merge request, you can way easier like follow the train of thought of what the creator of the merge request was trying to do, instead of having just one huge commit. And of course, it comes with other merits, like being able to roll back individual small changes. But anyway, I still make too large commits sometimes. So I'm trying to get better at this. What do we do here? Edit config struct. Let's push that. Okay, as this one went pretty smoothly, way more smooth than I anticipated, we could probably take our time to do command line argument parsing with clap. I prepared this already here. Like, what I prepared is actually I opened this page, which is actually not a huge amount of preparation to begin with. Yes, serde. I remember serde. Let's do serde first. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. Let's do serde. Where is the docs? Select the docs best here. So we need a serde version 10219. Well, whatever. We'll just do cargo add serde features. Features is we definitely need derive. Yeah, you always want derive. And because we're gonna use JSON files, we need that for JSON as well. Does it come with the derive functionality by default? I guess it does. Well, let's see. Yeah, we've got serde JSON. We're good. I think we're good. So the monitorable will now have to be serialized and deserialized. So we need serialize from serde, we need deserialize. There's no reason for us to like implement our own version of serialize and deserialize here. So we just derive it. That's more than good enough for this project. Serialize, deserialize. Anything else wrong in here? No, nothing wrong. And we should now be able to write this to a file. So probably this is the point where things get a bit sketchy, because like we have to think about how we want to use this in the end. It's probably not so user-friendly to just tell the user, hey, you have to write your JSON file by hand in order to get all your config running. And if you have one keyword wrong, then it's gonna panic. Well, not the best idea. Like, if we look into the future, maybe we could create some kind of user interface. I would prefer a TUI. I'm going to be honest, that's kind of, I think, where the sweet spot for this project is, because you can still SSH into a machine and then use the TUI. And also, I kind of like the minimalism, to be honest. It's just like my preferred style for a lot of stuff nowadays. It's fast, it's minimal, it's pretty nice. But we're not going to be getting there for probably quite a long time. So for now, I'm going to do it in the following way. And I don't know if that is best practice. Tell me in the comments whether you do something like this, but I think it's kind of hacky for now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this in-memory representation of my config. And then I'm just going to write it to file once. And then I get a JSON file, which already has the correct format of everything and has some kind of blueprints on how to do a status monitorable and a duration monitorable. And once we have this, we can get rid of this in-memory representation, and from then on just read the file. I don't know if that's best practice. It feels like it's a bit hacky, but okay. And I think, do we want to write the whole config to file or read the whole config from file? Or do we want to have like one file for the monitorables and then maybe another for some kind of settings? I think I prefer that. So the config is going to be constructed in memory after we read the monitorables from file. But now, as an intermediary solution, let's write the monitorables to file to get a file first. So what we need is going to be a stdfs. Yeah, it's a file, but we need to write. No, create. My God. What is going on? Creating a file. Like this, come on. Like, are you also struggling like this? For a syntax that should be way easier. Well, path, this is gonna be monitorables.json. Oh, pretty embarrassing, to be honest. Yeah. We're gonna just unwrap because this is temporary code and we're gonna be good. And we'll then serde JSON to writer. Our writer is gonna be our file and the values is gonna be the monitorables on Ripple. Expected something with a reference before it, I guess. That's what it says. Okay. Because I don't know any better, let's just run this. It does run. Monitorables.json. Oh, this is not pretty printed. Well, I do want this pretty printed, to be honest. At least for now. To write a pretty, yes. Yeah. To be honest, it's not that bad, actually. Like, you could write something like this by hand if you really wanted to. If you're dedicated enough and if these monitorables stay like simple enough. But that's okay. I don't know whether I like this this representation of the duration, that it writes seconds and then it doesn't go to milliseconds, but it goes to nanos right away, because that's probably at the border of human readability, but okay. Considering that in the long run we're not going to be doing it like this, that's okay, I guess. And now we should be reading those from file, actually. So Like, look at me go. I already know the syntax, huh? Monitorables.json. And this we should not unwrap. We should at least expect here. Can we actually recover from not being able to read the monitorables? Probably not, but we're having a main function that returns an anyhow result anyways, so we could instead just do context reading monitorables from file and do like this. It's probably a bit nicer. We're gonna be doing serde json from reader, and our reader is the file monitorables. This is gonna be a vec of monitorable. It's probably what it needs here. And we need to, okay, we can put context. Parsing monitorables from JSON. And we're good. We don't need this anymore. Well, let's just check whether it actually works before we delete it. No such file or directory. Too bad. We're missing the S. And we're cruising. Nice. So let's get rid of this one. Let's get rid of all the unused imports. Let's just clean up the project a bit now. Like, do you actually do this? Kind of section your code by at least making a few comments? Sometimes this feels really good. So when you're skimming over your file, you're like, okay, I know what this is, I know what that is. But also sometimes I feel like a bit of a dumbass for doing this, because like this line is so easy to read. It's exactly what the comment says. Oh well. For now, I think it's okay. What do we have here? The new function is never used. Well, it's kind of true, isn't it? Because we're always reading this from file. Well, off you go. Which makes our code even cleaner. We run again. I know we're not using the statistics. Yes, I'm fully aware of that. Also, we should not be, in the long run, just control-C'ing out of our program and just interrupting everything without writing any statistics or what to a file. But okay, I guess it's okay for now. Let's see where we are. Yes, that seems about right. Git commit. See, again, this could have been 2 commits. Number 1 is creating the monitorables.json. I could make 2 commits out of that, but whom am I fooling here? This is currently a project I'm only working on alone, so I do whatever I please. Read monitorables config from file. And I think this is where we could call it a day for now. Okay. So what needs to happen that I already teasered now, but I think it will have that in one of the future videos, is I want to have clap for configuration. I mean, currently the only thing that is configurable is probably this file. And that makes sense if you want to run this application for different configurations. You want to have different monitorables. So you maybe want to have different files, and you could reference the one that you actually like. But there should be different configs as well, like this duration here, which should probably be part of the config as well. You know what? Let's make that part of the config right now. Pub cycle duration. Call it cycle time back there. Okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah, that wasn't properly renamed. It was. Just wasn't updated. And then in here, the executor only needs the config, because the cycle time is gonna come from the config. That makes a lot more sense. Yeah, still working. Git commit am cycle time as part of config. Very good. So yes, this error is definitely not current anymore. I don't know, whatever. It's just a viral bug, I guess. So the next thing I'd like to do in the next video, so we come to terms to this now, is make the thing configurable via clap, which is, if you don't know that, it's one of the most fundamental crates, I guess, in the Rust ecosystem. It's a command line argument parsing crate. Very, very easy to use, especially if you go with the derive macros. Very nice. Or with the macros itself. And that's one thing I'd like to do. And what is still on our table here is, of course, the statistics. And once we got the statistics down and the configuration down, I think we'll have to head into the direction of creating some kind of user interface, and let's see how that will go. Because using the app like this and getting this output is like, that's worthy of debug output, but no more. Like, no user wants to use it in this way. So let's call it a day for now. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something from this. If you'd like me to go on with this project, which I probably will anyways, you can like. If you find those videos or any of my other videos, I do mainly Rust content on this channel. If you find that helpful, consider subscribing. Most of the videos are actually like shorter-lived explainer videos. And I'm just getting into this full-length coding videos. The future of this channel will probably be kind of like a mixture of both. Those full-length coding videos take way less effort on my side, but I'm aware of the fact that these explainer videos is probably what most people want, so I'll try to keep a good mix going. Anyways, too much talking. I'm wishing you best luck with your own projects. Have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.